Welcome to the Sharkpreneur podcast with Kevin Harrington and Seth Greene. Kevin Harrington is the inventor of the infomercial, one of the original sharks from the hit TV show Shark Tank, and has generated over $5 billion in TV and digital direct response sales. Seth Greene is the world's first trusted authority on cutting-edge direct response marketing, a best-selling author, and the only 3-time Marketer of the Year nominee. On the podcast, Kevin and Seth interview Sharkpreneurs who share straight talk on what it takes to explode your business.
49 faces looked to him in triumph. Over the last 12 months, they had each taken turns and promoted his business for a week at a time, driving over $987,342 in revenue. What if you had a network of 50 centers of influence who promoted your business every week for a year? Grab your copy of the #1 Amazon best-selling book, The Ultimate Guide to Growing Your Business with a Podcast, at 33% off the Amazon price by going to ultimatepodcastbook.com. Again, that website for 33% off the Amazon price is ultimatepodcastbook.com. Welcome to the podcast. This is your host, Seth Greene. Today, I've got the good fortune to be joined by Kendra Nicole from the Finance Femme, your go-to CFO firm for thriving female-owned companies, but she's still going to talk to me, that are seeking the financial clarity and strategy needed to scale. As the saying goes, teamwork make the dream work, and at the Finance Femme, their team becomes an extension of your business. All right, Kendra, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Looking forward to it.
Our pleasure. So let's go back in time. How did you get started?
Well, I've always been intrigued by finance. My mom's actually an accountant. My dad is an engineer. So I feel like I was, just beat into me at a young age to do everything in like Excel. And, I was the girl who was the little kid doing my mom's grocery list in the Excel spreadsheet. So I was always interested in that. And then went to school, went to Clemson University for corporate finance, and literally just started my career in finance and haven't looked back since. But when I was sitting in on these boardroom meetings, at the time I was working at GE, and I was sitting in on these boardroom meetings supporting the CFO and CEO, they'd have these conversations, and, the CEO wouldn't make a move without the CFO's approval or financials or numbers, data. And so seeing that insight really intrigued me. And, at the same time, I had friends who were starting businesses on the side, and they were struggling to understand their financials. They were doing really, really well. They had successful businesses in a sense that they were making high income, but they didn't feel it. And so I kind of took that learning that I got out of those boardroom conversations while I was in corporate and created the fractional version for those small business owners.
Awesome. So I'm sure the longer version of that story could probably be in a book somewhere, if it isn't already. So let's dive in a little deeper. Who's an ideal client for you in your firm?
Yeah, so we exclusively support women-owned businesses, and I can dive into the reasons for that later. But we support women-owned businesses, both product-based and service-based. Typically, they're in business about 3 to 5 years, and they're hitting that first major wall, whether that is they've come across funding and they just don't exactly know what to do with it, or they're in need of funding, or they're about to grow their team. Maybe they're going from a solopreneur to making that first full-time hire, and they just want to make sure that they're, kind of going about it in the right way. So typically they are bumping up against something that is just causing that owner to go from I can do everything myself to, okay, we need to really expand this thing and outsource some items.
Is there a typical either revenue size or employee or team size that you work with?
Yeah. So we have 2 main services. So our accounting services, which is where we get really deep, obviously, in their financials and build out all their financial statements and dashboarding. They're typically somewhere around 250 to 350K is usually where they're kind of starting. They typically have 1 to 2 employees in that business. Our fractional CFO side, which is where we really focus on the scaling, the strategy, we build out your financial models, things of that nature. They're closer to $1 million in sales a year or more. And they usually have at least 2 or 3 full-time employees. Although some get there with just 1 full-time employee, but they're still in need of some support to help them really continue to grow.
What are some of the biggest mistakes that they're making that you're helping them with?
I'd say one of the biggest things is just seeing their numbers, like just paying attention to them and actually observing them. There's a lot of folks out there who can actually have pretty good businesses. I mean, they're really good at what they do, whether that is, being a service provider or selling a product. So they can sell it, they can make the money, but then they don't know where it's going. They're like, how am I making $3 million this year and I don't have anything to show for it? Well, it's typically because you're not actually paying attention to where the money is going and looking at your financials. So the first step really is just looking at it and getting clarity on where you are. A lot of times folks get get the shiny syndrome and they're wanting to do this next strategy or try this next trick or try this next hack. And it's like, well, first, let's just get an understanding of where you are. Let's just level set first and stabilize first. So I'd say the biggest mistake is wanting to jump into the next thing before actually having a solid footing on where you are now.
That's a big one. I bet you run into shiny object syndrome a lot.
All the time.
Now, when it comes to your supporting them on the financials, what are some of the issues you're helping them solve or prevent there?
Usually it's figuring out the best thing to spend their money on. So it's a lot of explaining how people tend to be that higher ROI spend over, certain products that they might want to buy, right? So we're in this whole social media age where you go on LinkedIn, you go on social media, you see all of these new trainings or new coaches or new gurus. And you're like, if only I pay this person 40 grand, they're going to help me understand how to do this next thing. And it's like, or you can potentially take that 40 grand, add another, 20, 30 to it and bring on a full-time person who can actually just offload that whole division to you. Instead of you trying to learn Facebook ads for $40,000, hire somebody to handle your Facebook ads. So a lot of times it's shifting the mindset around how they're spending money and focusing on ROI and not just that next, again, shiny thing that kind of pops up.
How do our female entrepreneurs listening or watching, how do they know when they need you?
Usually your body will tell you. You'll start to feel very tired and stressed out and you won't enjoy what you're doing anymore, or you'll kind of hesitate, walking into that office. You usually can feel when that overwhelm starts to come your way or when that fear and almost hesitation to even like look at your number starts to come your way. That's when it's a good time to bring somebody in to help take the fear away and turn that fear into clarity. Because once you have clarity, you actually feel a lot stronger and you're able to make sound decisions versus kind of arbitrarily creating these goals and things that we tend to do when we don't have the data.
Absolutely. And I think you alluded to two different levels of service. Can you do a more detailed breakdown of each of those?
Sure, absolutely. So the one is the executive accounting solution. So that is for individuals who really just need that clarity. So you might already have a bookkeeper, you might already have an accountant, but if you do, we would actually take that process over and we would touch your books every single day to keep them up to date, and create your financial statements at the end of each month, send you over the details of that financial statements, give you some dashboards and tell you exactly like what we're seeing in your numbers. So we really break that down and you would get access to a full team. So you'd actually get access to your own bookkeeper, accounting manager, and accounting director that's from my team that's like outsourced and delegated to you. And then for the CFO side, it's that plus some CFO level on top where we actually have monthly meetings on your strategy. We create your financial plan and we go deeper into more forward-looking financial strategy versus the accounting, which is more so past tense.
Got it. That helping plan for the future as opposed to reporting what already happened.
Exactly.
Do you do any tax work?
We do. We support individuals and businesses from your sole proprietors, LLCs, to your S corporations and C corporations and nonprofits. So we do actually do full service on tax preparation, but also we really focus on tax planning because we don't believe that taxes should just be a season. Taxes is not a season; it's a year-long strategy if you do it right. And so that's where we really, really focus in. But we also just solely do preparation for folks as well.
Awesome. You've achieved quite a bit of success in your own business and helping all of your clients. What's your biggest challenge now?
The biggest challenge actually is figuring out if we're going to continue to grow, or if we're going to just, hang out here for a little while. I think there's this thought that you're always wanting to grow. And of course, small growth is kind of necessary to balance retention and attrition and things like that. But it's a mindset shift of like not wanting to always scale. And I'm finding myself here now. Well, I have a 3-year-old. So once I had the 3-year-old, that's when that clicked, where it's like, maybe you don't have to always scale. Maybe you just have to like chill out for a little bit and get some sleep and get naps when you can, because a 3-year-old is crazy. So that's really where I've been these last couple of years, is trying to figure out, like, do we just continue to scale, or do we just kind of hang tight for a little bit? Which I think we're going to hang tight for a little bit.
Well, glad we were able to help you not at all make that decision. Sounds like you already knew what you wanted to do. Your passion is obvious. What do you like best about what you're doing?
Oh, it's the transformation of the clients. It's the, from when we initially talk to them on consults and we kind of can hear the anxiety or the frustration or whatnot in their voice, to working with them a couple of months later, hearing the excitement, hearing them actually want to hop on these financial review calls. Because I get it. Finances, taxes, sometimes it is, a little boring and not the most fun conversation to have. But to be able to have those calls with them and see the excitement and see the changes in their business, which for a small business owner means a change in their personal life as well, right? And so that's been the greatest. And so many clients have actually become friends as well. So I'm blessed for sure.
Awesome. Well, we know your time is incredibly valuable. We greatly appreciate you spending some with us. For our female entrepreneurs who are watching or listening, where is the best place for them to go to learn more about you and all things Finance Femme?
Yeah, thank you. The best thing is to go to the website, which is thefinancefemme.com, and also on Instagram at thefinancefemme. Either way, we're there to help.
Awesome. Well, this has been Seth Greene with Kendra Nicole from the Finance Femme. Kendra, thanks again for joining us.
Thank you, Seth. I appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody, for watching or listening. We will talk to you or see you next time.
Why do so many businesses struggle while others seem to explode overnight? Do you wish you had the secret to this type of exponential growth? Now, I've scaled more than 20 businesses to over $100 million, and it's not just luck. In my new book with Mark Tim, Mentor to Millions, you'll learn the repeatable framework I use in all my business ventures for massive success. Order at kevinmentor.com and get over $1,000 in bonuses. Head to kevinmentor.com.